good afternoon, everyone. I am Naketa Thigpen, and I'm expressively, I can't talk today, excited to bring you a mini power punch to help awaken your inner superwoman on this windy Wednesday. It's so cold today. I don't know about you, but on the East Coast, I'm freezing. Today we have an honor to chat with Theresa Hummel Krallinger. She's my industry peer, a culture maven, and a phenomenal entrepreneur. I can't emphasize that enough. This is a live call, so we will be taking questions throughout. All you have to do over the next 30 minutes, because we respect your time and we know you respect ours, is just push *6 to unmute yourself when you have a question. I am so excited, Theresa, this morning, and I'm so grateful that you were able to stop your busy speaking and traveling and consulting schedule and make some time for us. How are you today?
I am doing well, Naketa, and thank you so much for inviting me to participate.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So jumping right in, callers want to know, and I got tons of questions that were emailed to us from the tribe who couldn't be here today, and we'll get to those a little bit later because everyone who's live has preference to jump in with their questions first. You were a serious exec in your past life. So everyone wants to know, what made you leave that? How did you leave your executive cushy life and transfer over into entrepreneurship?
Well, and it's funny, I don't think I've ever been a serious executive. Anybody that knows me, I don't think at any time I can be serious for more than about 5-10 minutes. So I did have some serious roles. In fact, probably one of the most serious roles I had was a director of risk management when I worked for Prudential, and I think people find that hard to believe that I served in 5 years in risk management. But and I loved my corporate experience. I loved my corporate experience so much. I stayed at Prudential 18 years. I was at Almac for a good 6.5. Absolutely love, squeeze the juice out of those experiences. But what I realized is the things that I did for Prudential and for Almac are things that I want to do on a broader scale. I just think there's a bigger calling for me. And there's more risk involved, certainly, leaving that biweekly paycheck world. But I want to be able to do for other organizations, and am doing for other organizations, what I did for Prudential and what I did for Almac. And that's why I jumped out.
Well, where did you find your courage to kickstart? There's one thing to make a decision and say, you know what, I have these skills and I can apply it to this other part of my life to be more fulfilled and maybe even make more money, depending on, how things go after the first couple years. But there's a lot of concern and reservation for most people. I know I had it for sure. My reservation was, we have these bills that are constantly showing up every month,
right.
And sometimes more frequently, and to take away that consistent paycheck, although nothing is, secure, but to volunteer to take that away is a big step. So there's often that hesitation to kickstart and say, okay, let's do it. Let's start. Let's not just develop a name and create a logo and LLC ourselves, but really let's go. We're now going out for clients and we're making this our everything. How did you do it and how did you feel about it?
I think there's 3 things that gave me the confidence to go out on my own. And I've actually gone out on my own twice. The last time I went out on my own, I swore I'd never go back to another organization. Whenever you say that, be careful, because you usually end up doing what you said you wouldn't do. But I fell in love with a client and jumped back in and worked there for 6.5 years. But these are my 3 things that helped. One, manage your money really well when you are on the inside. Live well within your means. Certainly the home that we have is very modest. I was very mindful that I had cash set aside so that for the first year or 2, I didn't feel needy, if that's the right word. I certainly wanted work. I certainly pushed for work, but I knew I had a financial cushion that would carry me for a while. So that's number 1. Number 2, work on your professional network. And I think this is why I have all the confidence in the world to be out on my own. 1, I know a ton of people, and 2, I work that network. I feed that network. My focus on networking is not about getting work for myself, getting my questions answered. My focus is on helping others. And what I've learned is the more I do that and the more I help others get what they need, the more that they help me proactively. I don't even need to ask. So that was very helpful, and it continues to feed my network and to feed my work. The third thing is, and it's really a Stephen Covey thing from 7 Habits, sharpen the saw. Make sure that you are the best that you can be at what you do. And I don't take that lightly. I mean, I'm constantly reading, attending webinars, hanging out with thought leaders. I want to make sure that from an organizational development standpoint, from a culture development standpoint, I know what the latest and greatest is. So the 3 tips: manage your money well, certainly manage and maintain your network well, and keep your skill set up to date. And frankly, I think you'll have work. You'll have it.
Absolutely. I agree with all 3 of your points, although I didn't manage my money that well when we first started. I think we were already stretched, and we were just really at that place of wanting to take a bigger risk, knowing that it wasn't the best thing. And I mean, we had savings, don't get me wrong. We had savings outside of our retirement, all that. But we weren't necessarily planning to put it away for this next level of entering into entrepreneurship. It was more so planning for emergencies. And the emergency came when we realized we hadn't managed quite well, because we were bootstrappers. We jumped out, no business loans, not for lack of trying. We were trying, but we didn't have 2 years in. It's such a catch-22. You have to have 2 years of the business to get a new business loan. It's so special. So we did everything as bootstrappers. And there were pluses and minuses to that. We learned really quick that being super official wasn't the best way all the time. Like when we first started, we went into a 3-year lease, which is standard commercial leasing, for 1,500 square foot office space. And that wasn't smart because we didn't have clients yet, and we're in this lease. We also signed up for all the insurances, the professional liability, the general liability, making sure everything was good, workers' comp. We did all W-2 employees, and we were paying money for people that hadn't even been there yet for all the insurance. I mean, we were just like giving away the money, thinking away we had to do it as a small business. And I think that's a big definition, clarity point for most entrepreneurs. Whether you're an employee-preneur, you're still working or not, you're not a small business. Whether you need a brick-and-mortar office for whatever it is that you're doing or not, you don't have to go in it with all those bells and whistles. And I didn't get it. Part of it was a credibility look. I have to look the part. You have this agency, we do that, and it made me, I don't want to say waste, because there are no regrets in life. You do what you do. You learn from them. But we definitely poured a lot of money down the drain. And part of it, Theresa, was connected to the networking challenges. When I started 3.5 years ago, I had a huge network as a clinician, as a professional in that world. I knew nothing about the difference in networking as an entrepreneur who's now networking, like you said, to give and grow, and making sure it's reciprocal relationships, but you're kind of jumping in without an expectation of a return because you want to just be top of mind for people. And people were seeing me as a rabbit with a split open, and they were foxes ready to jump on and pounce. Like, oh, you're new? Oh, you need insurance. You need this. You need that. And they just wanted me to be a client. Like, that's all they wanted. I'm assuming you dealt with some of that on some issue, but if you didn't, how do you avoid it?
And I'm laughing because I took such a different approach. I did not rent office space. I figured I'm going to do what I can from home as long as I can. But what I have done this year, in fact, this is how we got connected, is I joined the Pyramid Club so that I do have a place to go that's in a great location in Center City. And if folks haven't been to the Pyramid Club, it's wonderful. You so need to go and see it. But I can do my work there. I can have my meetings there. I can hold workshops there. But I didn't do that until I felt I really had enough in the pipeline to keep that going. So, but I had no office space. At this point, I don't even have a website up. It's being built. I have been getting all of my work from my LinkedIn profile. How crazy is that? And my network. So
that's awesome.
I know. I break so many of the entrepreneur rules, but one of the things that I would recommend is don't do everything yourself. If you're not good at something, get a partner, get some help. And one of those things for me is bookkeeping, accounting, taxes. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But as a business owner, it needs to be done well. So definitely find a partner in that. If marketing is not your bag, that's cool. Get a marketing partner. And I have a marketing partner who is now helping me brand my programs. And Naketa, we had a conversation before the call. Now I know your husband does some work in coming up with the graphics, doing some good graphic work. But those are the things where I all along have reached out and tried to find partners in those areas where it's just not my expertise.
No, you're absolutely right. I call it just knowing your lane or staying in your lane. I write about it a lot on the Awesome blog because it's important. In the beginning, when you're a solopreneur, whether you're still working in a profession or not, and you're trying to do it, you're trying to do everything possible. You're not necessarily looking to hire out, even though you might have been like me, getting all the insurances for things you haven't even started yet. We definitely were really careful with hiring out, and you're kind of afraid to let go. I mean, I had, past tense, super control issues. I wanted to do it well first and then maybe possibly share some of the babysitting responsibilities with you. It was very, very hard for me to let people in, even people who were really good at what they did, just because I'm like, no, it's my vision. It's my baby. You're not going to get it. If you mess it up, you can walk away. You're not going to care. Even though there was clearly no issue with the person, it was all me. It was all my issue. I would spend hours trying to figure out how to do something technologically and get really frustrated, couldn't do it, and finally would say, okay, I need someone who's more experienced. So I learned, and I did that quickly. That wasn't a long process. It was probably about 3 or 4 months in, because it was interrupting my favorite part, which is the social part, the networking part, because that's where my best self is. I can walk in a room and definitely make my presence known just from the sharing, not because I'm selling anything. And staying behind the computer and being held up with stuff that wasn't my lane definitely took me away from my best self, which didn't make things good for my husband when I got home, that's for sure. And it definitely didn't make my life as an entrepreneur any easier. So you're 100% right, Theresa. You have to stay in your lane with everything. And some of that is practice, just knowing where you're good at. I have my accountability partner, Dr. Rana, is fantastic at everything she does in the education community. And one of the things that should not be a skill set for her on any level, because she's an academic like I'm an academic, is she created her own website. Like, she did everything, the coding, everything she needed to do. She taught herself how to do it, which I thought was she was sick in the head for doing it. And she definitely spent some late nights and early mornings trying to get it together. But she did it, and she's really, really good at it. She discovered another skill set. So sometimes you have to step out and see what you're pretty good with versus what you don't need to do. And now that she knows how to do it well, she hires someone else to do it. She's like, no, I just really, this was something that I wanted to tackle. I tackled it. She gave herself a certain amount of time to tackle it. Now she's over it. But it was good for her to know it, because now when she brings in interns, she can actually train them versus just saying, here's an assignment, go do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And now you've got tools out there like Wix.com where you can build your own website and have it look pretty swanky without really having a lot of technical skills. So in the beginning, if it's something that floats your boat and you want to learn, definitely do it. Otherwise, if it's not your bag and it's cutting into your time, definitely farm it out. But it's like you said, you do have to be careful, because you have folks wanting to sell you everything as an entrepreneur. And use a trusted friend who's been in the business for a while and ask them, is this good advice? Should I do this? What do you think?
Absolutely. I was just sitting here. I'm nodding my head like you can see me, which is hilarious. But I was sitting here.
I can feel it, though. I can feel the nod.
You can feel it?
I can.
Feel the nod. Feel it. I'm so in agreement with you. And I was sitting here thinking about one of the the challenges that comes up for a lot of my clients. I call them careerpreneurs because they're professionals who are also entrepreneurs. They're not necessarily trying to walk away from their profession, even if they walked away from the 9 to 5. Similar to what you and I do. We use all of our skills and transition them into what we do. And I know one of the biggest issues that comes up for them is when they're walking into, let's say, a traditional networking environment, maybe somewhere they've been invited to by a trusted friend, like you said, they are so hesitant to identify themselves as entrepreneurs until they have a good sense of the room. They'll walk in and say, well, hi, what do you do? Oh, I'm Jasmine. I'm a CFO or I was a CFO at so-and-so, or I'm a professional accountant, whatever it is. But they never got to the point of saying, and I just started a lingerie boutique, or I own this or run this fantastic mentoring program. They won't really get to it right away because they're not trusting that it will be accepted. And it's just an amazing part of it, which I think makes some of them not want to network and understand the power of it. Like you said, even with LinkedIn, you have to step out and reach out to your first connections and say, hey, haven't talked to you in a while. How are you? That's great. We need to catch up so we can learn more about what each other do because I have some new stuff going on. It takes a certain level of boldness to do it, and if you're not trusting yourself to do it, there's some huge barriers there.
Absolutely, and I have to say I have no problem telling people what I do, and I think part of it is I get excited about the fact that I know I can go into organizations and create a place where people want to work. And right now, there is just such a need for organizations to create some love for their people. And not just because it feels good and we want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. It's because if your folks are happy and they enjoy where they're working and they feel it has meaning and purpose, you're going to make more money. Mm-hmm. And I get excited about that, and I want to help businesses. So I have absolutely no problem telling people what I do. And my advice to those that have that fear, dig deep. Why should people hire you? Why should people hire you? Know in your heart that you're going to make a positive difference. That's why you're in business for yourself. And that, to me, is the driver of those networking conversations. It's I know I can help. I know I can make their lives better. So I don't know if that advice helps at all, but that's what pushes me.
No, it definitely does. And I have some more questions, of course, but I see there's a ton of people on this call, so I'm going to open it up. If you guys have any questions for Theresa whatsoever, just unmute yourself with *6 and jump right in. Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking because I don't have any problem talking, if you haven't noticed. All right. Well, while you guys are still contemplating your questions, no problem. I'm going to jump right in. We actually have some questions that were emailed to us as well from Donna S. Theresa, did you fear leaving the corporate world, your steady check and your benefits? I'm just curious because I'm trying to figure out if this is something I should do or plan to do it. And Theresa, you kind of answered it a little bit, but I think she's really leaning on the fear question. Like, what was the fear and what held you back from maybe doing it a little bit earlier?
Yeah, and I think it's smart to be prudent. Certainly don't just jump out of your corporate job and, I'm going to go out on my own and not think it through. But I think I got past the fear because I did it in a very thoughtful way. One, I maintained my network the whole time I was working full time. I mean, I networked as if I was an entrepreneur, even though I was a director of OD in an organization. So my network was well set. You do have to plan for the benefit thing. And certainly I'm fortunate. I'm married. My husband has benefits. So there was a time where he was on my benefits. So then when I left to go out on my own, I can go on his benefits. But I also researched how much it would cost to get benefits on my own should I need to. So I've got that in my back pocket. And so I was prepared for that. So I wouldn't say I was afraid to leave. But I was very prudent about the decision to leave and very realistic that there was risk involved. And I miss the biweekly paycheck. You know what I miss? I miss them, like just the whole tax aspect of it, that they just take the taxes out and all that accounting is done for you. Oh, my.
That does make a big difference, and consider this is the day after tax day, which a lot of people are going crazy. I forget what my daughter said it. I think her teacher said it's the messed up day of the year, because April 15th was the day that the Titanic went down. It's of course tax day. And someone else who was prominent, who I'm failing to recognize at this moment, so forgive me, passed away. I think Abraham Lincoln was shot on April 15th or something. So it was just like all these horrible things for April 15th, but I totally understand what you mean with that, because that's the nonsense that I don't get into. I just keep everything on my profit and loss, and I shoot it right over to the accountant. I don't even
absolutely
deal with it. That's a know your lane moment for sure.
Yes, it is. But while I want people to be prudent, certainly, also don't be so prudent that the calendar pages fly off your calendar and you stay in a role that is not giving you joy. You really have to weigh that, and I think that was a big thing for me. It was very easy to be comfortable and get a nice paycheck and frankly have awesome corporate travel. I think I missed some of that travel. I used to go to Northern Ireland a few times a year, and I loved it. So I missed that, but I think the joy factor and the making a bigger difference factor outweighs that. And I believe, my mindset is I believe I'll have work, I'll believe I'll have good work, and I do.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you make a lot of good points. Like, I have these whole stages of success that I use for myself as well as other people, and everything starts with a dream. You had to have a moment when you felt like this was going to be something that you could do. And then you got to a place where you really believed you could do it. And that is a major next step. Like, no one can help you dream. You have to dream on your own. It has to come to you. You have to be in the right environment for things to be stimulating and you to get ideas. But the dream is technically innate. It's coming from you. But the believing part sometimes comes with the right support network, people who are encouraging you, like, Theresa, you can do this. Naketa, you can definitely put your hands around it, even when you're being really disobedient. Like, I know I was. I had people telling me that I should stand up in front of thousands and millions of people to speak probably 20 years ago. And I said, get your life. You got to get out of here. Ain't nobody doing all of that. I don't want to speak to y'all in this small conference room of 100. What makes you think I want to stand up in front of a bunch of people looking at me and judging me? So I had kind of disregarded a lot of my purpose and my path and what I was supposed to do because I wasn't ready to believe it. I hadn't even dreamt it, to be honest. I just totally disregarded it. I was kind of stuck in another world. But once you finally believe it, now you have to plan for it. You know, be as strategic as you possibly can, knowing that mistakes are going to happen, which is great because as long as they are unintentional, you're going to learn from them and you can't be afraid of learning from them. And then you do it. You plan and you do. But if you stay stuck in plan and you're just kind of like, one day I'm going to get it together and I'm going to have $50,000 to start this, I don't know, whatever this thing is that I dreamed about 20 years ago and never implemented, you're just stuck there. And I think a lot of people get stuck in planning because they're waiting for the perfect dollar number, the perfect amount of insurance, whatever it is. And you have to take risk and, to your phrasing, get uncomfortable, because if you stay stuck and comfortable, you're never going to make it to the next level. And once you do it and you get there, now you have to preserve your success, which I think is the final thing that kind of starts the cycle all over again. A new program, a new service, a new product makes your dream all over again. And you do it. And each part of that process, which is not necessarily linear because you vacillate between them, is uncomfortable. Like, no one wants to start over, but you have to start from somewhere. And to your point, you can't get stuck. I agree with that.
Not at all. And I have no regrets. I think part of it, too, is when I left both of my, what I consider my big corporate jobs, I still do work with each of those organizations. I still have friendships with tons of people there. If I see things that are going to help, particularly my colleagues at ALMAC, if I see things that will help them or the organization, I send them articles, I send them opportunities for training, networking, I send them people, hey, you guys probably should talk. So even though I'm not there in an office and getting a paycheck from them, I still try to help former employers, and that helps to maintain the relationship.
Absolutely, which is really important. We have a question from Stephanie Z. Before I get to her question, does anybody else who's on the call, we have over a dozen people signed up that are here, that are listening, and I'm sure being inspired and encouraged and impacted by all this great stuff. Do you want to *6 yourself and unmute and jump in before I start reading some more questions?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Regina, and I loved everything that you are all saying during this conference. I've been in business for like 3 years, and finally I've gotten a state contract, and I'm still working too. I'm still working full time, and I'm still, right now I don't have any customers with the state contract. I'm just starting out, so it's just going to be a matter of me marketing. I'm trying to be prudent, but it's hard. It's hard to do your business, and it's hard to work full time. Mm-hmm. I definitely haven't been happy for a long time because I feel like in some ways I'm being limited where I'm at. But yet, it's hard to walk away from a paycheck every 2 weeks. So I don't know. Should I just plan 2 years from now? Have a cutoff point. Certain bills I should take care of. I'm running the business out of my home right now. And I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know. I'm glad where I'm at in terms of a state contract, but it's kind of hard with the type of job I have to maneuver everything. So I'm not really sure how to go about everything, or should I just have a cutoff point of 2 years? This is what I need to take care of, and then just walk away.
Well, what I would do is I would sit down and say, what, from an expense standpoint, do you absolutely need to have to survive? Like, just sit and just write that budget. Like, what's your mortgage, if you have a car payment, if you have any loans, all your utilities. Like, at a bare minimum, figure out what that number is. Okay. And I would say, and I know this is not across the board, I think everybody does it a little differently, but I would say if you have enough to cover you for at least 18 months, then I would feel comfortable jumping. But know and believe in your heart that you're going to have work right away. I mean, that's the goal. But if you didn't, at least having that cushion to cover just the bare minimum. I also would cut expenses where you can. Sometimes we have crazy stuff that we think we need and we don't need. Like I had 2 phone lines in my house. Do I really need 2 phone lines? No. I had a thing with Massage Envy every month, and I was getting a massage every month. Did I really need
that? Sounds nice.
Yeah, I mean, do I need that subscription to get a massage every month? No. So let me cut that out. And if I want a massage, I'll just go as needed. So all of these little things that start to add up, I would cut them out so that you can fulfill this dream of being able to move forward. Also work with your employer. Maybe there's a way you can go part-time.
No, that's not going to happen. I mean, she gives me flexible schedule, but I'm not going to be able to work part-time because I'm a manager. So I manage 25 individuals. So that's, as much as I would love to go part-time, that's not going to happen. I would probably have to walk away altogether once I make that decision.
Or find another job where you're not having to work full-time, but you know you have a regular income.
Okay, I see.
I see. Yeah, I'm thinking. I actually have a good friend who recently, she's been working full-time. I think she's been with the company about 10 years. And her dream was really to get into real estate and start to buy and sell properties and flip properties. And she educated herself. She attended some seminars. She got all the legal and tactical information she needed, and she just worked with her employer to get a 3-day work week for herself.
That would be lovely if I had that.
It's sweet. It is really sweet. So Maria is going back and forth between the full-time and the real estate thing. So she's living her dream, but she's also making sure that she has the minimum she needs to, pay her bills and stay afloat, keep her benefits.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good idea.
Theresa. Yeah.
That is.
Yes,
excellent.
Regina, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think that, when I got this was right before 12, and I was like, oh, I got to call it. Because I know that I wake up in the mornings now not as happy as I was when I walked into that office 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
And if I could, I would give the 30 days, but I'm not there in terms of the finances.
Mhm.
And part-time is not an option unless I walk away. But it seemed like you ladies gave me a good plan, and maybe look at 18 months. Maybe look for another part-time job that I could do to help me get through the bare minimum after I work out a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
awesome,
so much.
Regina. And, you can stick around. There's going to be more Kickstart Success calls. Theresa is my peer. She is amazing. She's not going anywhere. Believe me, she's going to be a
Theresa.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks
and
for
I did like the
tuning
idea,
in.
too, about the partners. I'm not good with certain things, but it's so hard. I know I've been reaching out sometimes on LinkedIn, and I heard that, but I don't get a lot of people to respond, or I call them and say, what's your fee, or I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, LinkedIn is for us to link in with, but yet I think people are there, like I told Naketa a few weeks ago when I spoke to her. I think people are just looking for numbers, but I'm seriously interested in linking up with people who could help, even if I say, well, what's your fee? How do you do that with marketing or graphics or, because I'm definitely not good with that. Or who does the social media and get somebody to do that. At least while I'm still working, these are things I can work on, but it just seems like that's a battle in itself with the LinkedIn as well.
It is, and we definitely, Regina, we can talk about that some more as well, you and I, or we can continue the conversations. I want to make sure we give anyone else.
Call in. Thank
you. Absolutely. Thank you, Regina. I so appreciate it. And don't forget, you can email me anything you need, and I'll link you to Theresa directly.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Hey, Regina, thanks for your question, and I'm sending you good energy, my friend.
Thank you.
That's awesome. We are about to wind down. Does anyone else have any questions before we jump right into Stephanie's question that she emailed before? Okay. I think everyone is just taking in all the goodness that you just gave Ms. Regina. So Stephanie wants to know something that we didn't talk about, but she must have read it from your show bill profile. It's so incredible to hear you are a comedian and you were able to layer it into your consulting business. Did you ever bomb out when trying to use it with stuffy execs? I think that's a great question.
Oh, wow. I think, fortunately, I've been doing communications and behavior training for such a long time that I have, I guess it's a good discernment with my humor and knowing my audience. So have I bombed out? I wouldn't say I haven't bombed out, but I can feel in the room when people, when I feel butts are tight, if that makes any sense. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that on your call, but if people are very uptight and uncomfortable, I may poke fun at that a little bit in a loving way, just to kind of get people to loosen up and to work on them. But you have to approach people from where they are, not where you want them to be. And I have worked in some situations where you did have some stuffy execs, and they really weren't there to laugh a lot, or at least they didn't think they were. But you work to loosen them up.
I think that's amazing. So this ties right into the last question, if no one else wants to unmute themselves and jump right in, from Karen. It looks like Corinne. Excuse me, her name is Corinne. She emailed and said, I'm afraid I don't have any unique talents or gifts like what you did with rolling in your comedy to make yourself unique and stand out in the industry. If I don't have that, how do I stand out and take the big leap?
2 suggestions. 1, I have no doubt that you have unique gifts and strengths. I know you have them. Every one of us has them. First, ask people who know you well what those strengths are. Like when they think of you, what are the one or two words that come to mind when they think of you in terms of strengths, in terms of gifts? The other suggestion I have for you is, what do you want to be your brand? What do you want to be your brand? Each of us is like, it's like a product. It's like a brand. I mean, we think of, Ritz-Carlton or Disney or Nordstrom. All of those companies have a brand, and it evokes emotion, and it makes us think of certain words when we hear those names. You have a brand as well. And you have a brand right now, whether you want it or not. You've got a brand. And the question for you is, what do you want your brand to be? And what are those unique strengths, skills, keywords that you want people to say and think and feel when they hear your name? Once you've identified what that is, behave in line with those words. Behave in line with those strengths. Demonstrate, live your life in line with your brand. And that becomes your uniqueness. I want it to be known as the trainer that you could feel comfortable with, the trainer that restores soul to organizations, the consultant that puts you at ease, that doesn't intimidate, that makes you feel loved, for lack of a better word. Not really a corporate word, but to make people feel loved. So I've worked on that brand. And so select what brand you want and behave in line with that.
Absolutely. You made such a good point, Theresa. People already have branded you something. You're branded as a great person. You're branded as someone who's comfortable. You're branded as someone who is always happy or joyful, or maybe you're branded as the really no-nonsense type. Not in a bad way, but just, be really mindful what you bring to her doorstep, because she's going to let you know if she wants it or not, which is not a bad thing, especially when there's firm boundaries and respect associated with that. And some people may have branded you as the quiet one who doesn't talk or stays in a shell or won't speak up. Like, you're already branded as something. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to accept that and twist it around and change it to what you want it to be. You made such a valuable point, which brings me to my last thing, just a little takeaway for everyone who's on the call before we separate ourselves on this Windy Wednesday. Theresa, what's a good read? Like, you've given me some suggestions for good books when we're meeting in our network groups together, but what's a good read you would recommend that aspiring or experienced entrepreneurs pick up like yesterday, like ASAP?
Wow, I have so many good reads, but a lot of them are spiritual. Isn't that crazy? But I think they've helped me professionally. I like Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle, he has A New Earth and The Power of Now. I think that philosophy, and it's funny because it's not a business book, it's not an entrepreneurship book, but it's a way to live your life and view the world book. That A New Earth was really, really helpful. There's another great book, and I'm seeing the cover, and I'm not coming up with the title, but it's more of a be powerful. Play to Win. Play to Win is the name of the book.
That's a good book.
Yeah, it's been out there. What do you think? 15 years? It's been out there a long time. Play to Win. A lot of people play not to lose, and that book teaches you to play to win, and I love that. Love, love, love that. So there's a couple.
That is awesome. Thank you. As usual, you under-promise and over-deliver, which is great. Everyone, this has been fantastic. I'm sorry for those of you who weren't able to jump in and get your questions in today, but feel free to send them in to asknaketa@thigpro.com. I'll be sure for the ones that are appropriate to send them on to Theresa. I have her email direct. I can pull her up whenever I need. I also have her phone number, but you can't have that. That's exclusive to me. I'm encouraging everyone to peek out of your shell and ask the experts. That's what we're here for. We want to help you dominate in your life and your business. You'll see us again, or speak to us again rather, in about another month. This call, the Kickstart Success call, happens on the third Wednesday every month at noon, and typically we stay right at 30 minutes, but today was so powerful and so impactful, we wanted to make sure that we got as much in as possible, and we went over by just a little bit. We hope that you have a spectacular day and a healthy balance to your week. Any questions you have, again, just remember to go to askNaketa@thigpo.com or to hit me on Twitter at Naketa Thigpen and put hashtag AskNaketa. So I know you were here. You were here to play. I know Coach Adrienne is already tweeting. I see her all over, as usual, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So follow in her footsteps and put out the good nuggets that you got from Theresa Hummel Krallinger, because she was an excellent expert to feature today. And I wish you all a fantabulous day. Have a good one, guys.